Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchasing, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we are discussing a 41mm stainless steel 2023 release made in an edition of only 50 pieces. From Moritz Grossmann of Glashütte, Germany, this is the Bennu Heritage Power Reserve, a sporty take on the Bennu Heritage with Power Reserve. It features an exclusive sterling silver dial with salmon coloration, 50 of these made and absolutely gorgeous both front and back. And what's on both sides, part of the reason I believe Moritz Grossmann is the most underrated luxury watchmaker in the world. Almost like a more soulful version of Lange, basically what Lange was in the 90s. And with production that's about 1/10 the magnitude of Lange's production today, we are talking hundreds, not thousands of watches per year from Moritz Grossmann, which is how they can keep the quality unimpeachable. So 50 of these made, and very special in stainless steel, an everyday durable 41mm watch that's only 11.8 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 50.3 millimeters with a 20mm spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And being 50.3, it is quite large across the wrist. So I'm going to recommend this for a wrist of my size or larger. If your wrist is 16 centimeters circumference and up, this is going to be a good fit. Now, it has a little bit of tumble home to the case as well as a well-sloped bezel. So this is going to slide onto the wrist and easily fit underneath the cuff. Super slick, a watch that looks fantastic. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. It's very versatile. It doesn't bias either way. Now, taking a quick look at the watch accessories, you can see we have a medium rectangular scale, sort of cobalt blue, matte finish alligator leather, a little bit of bolstering to give it volume. We have a folded edge, a monotone stitch, and then on the bottom, calfskin, a Moritz Grossmann factory strap in excellent condition. And we have a Moritz Grossmann matching stainless steel pin buckle. Taking a look at the case, it features lugs that are super sharp. You can see this is a almost undoubted welded junction where the lugs meet the case. When you weld lugs, it's a very traditional way of making a case. You make the case, you make the lugs, you leave slots in the case flank, you insert the lugs, you weld them on, and then you use a file to slowly remove all the gathered welding material, and you create these super sharp breaks. And you can see how they wrap all the way around from the soft bevel on the top down to the bottom of the lugs. Deeply impressive stuff. A very traditional unbranded crown, and they thought of everything. They give you a little kerf underneath to more easily dig your nail in. A lot of people ask me, what is that little button? And quite simply, it's part of the smartest hacking second system you will ever encounter. Let me demonstrate that again. I don't have the nails that I used to have because I have to manicure them for these features. But when you pull the crown out, watch how it snaps back in, just like that. So now it's flush to the case. I can set the watch. The balance is stopped. The seconds hand is halted, but it's flush to the case, so I can't push it back in, and I don't need to. So all I do is I set to the time I want. Generally, you stop the seconds hand when it's pointing at 60. And now, you know how when you push the crown back in on a conventional watch, the minute hand almost always moves? I just press this little button, watch the balance wheel when I push the button, jumps right back into action, and all of that without displacing the minute hand. So I've resumed the operation of the watch with zero risk of displacement. This is patented. It's an original innovation. The dial is made of sterling silver, and you can see it has a separate cut for the Power Reserve indicator, which has a faceted aperture, not a sheer one, a nice element of attention to detail. And then we've got this little matte finished and recessed 60-second sub-register. If you look, the whole dial is printed in blue, which makes for a nice contrast with the salmon color. You also have lovely hands. At Moritz Grossmann, they make their own, cutting them, then polishing and deburring them by hand, and then firing them to get a beautiful tone. And they are extended, pointed, tapered, and needle-like, with the minute hand featuring a little bit of rolling on a micro rolling tip so that it doesn't appear to curve when viewed from the front. We have a set of hand centers as well as a cannon pinion that have been mirror finished, and the same is true for the sub-seconds. Taking a look at the reverse of the watch, the movement caliber 100.2, it's built like an old marine chronometer. If you look, Unlike the system introduced by Jean-Antoine Lepine in the 1760s, we don't have bridges flush fit to the base plate. You can see how there's a hollow between them. Let me try to show you this. See how there's space between the base plate and the three-quarter bridge? It's held up by polished columns, just like a vintage marine chronometer. Manual wind, 18,000 vibrations per hour, 26 pivot joules, hand-adjusted with a free-sprung balance that's made in-house with an overcoil hairspring for concentric breathing in every physical position and a 42-hour power reserve. It is artisanal watchmaking at its best. Take a look at the escape wheel cock and the balance cock. Yes, they're freehand engraved like a langa, but with much greater intricacy. You can do that when you're only making 1/10 as many watches. The micrometric stainless steel screw regulator system for very fine adjustments. The vast majority of the timing adjustments here will be done using the poising screws in the little recess of the in-house manufactured balance. And it's like a grand old pocket watch with a huge diameter. This German silver alloy movement, it's 36.4 millimeters, so it properly fills this large case, a sign of a true manufacturer building a movement to fit its case. And all this 30 meters water resistant, so dress watch water resistance. Take a look at how luminous and broad these stripes are. Now take a look at how luminous the beveling is. The anglage on both steel and German silver components, beautifully mirrored. Mirror finish on the crown wheel core. Many of the screws also mirror finished along with the fine adjustment mechanism, but you'll also note that the screws, they're not blue. They're a sort of violet hue that's achieved by carefully firing them for a short period of time and withdrawing them before they turn blue. We have solarization across all of the primary wheels of the winding system here. And you could see that the ratchet wheel features triple solarization. And you could see that we have solarization as well on the edge of the crown wheel periphery. We have a black polished extensible, well, we'll reset the motion of the watch. We have a black polished vintage inspired extensible click right there. We also have golden chaton, just like the pocket watches would have featured. So elements here that are similar to pocket watches made in German antiquity. The three-quarter bridge, the nickel, copper, zinc, German silver alloy. The copper gives it that champagne hue. The freehand engraved balance cock. And of course the golden chaton cups for the clear sapphires rather than synthetic rubies. And the chaton would have been used back in the 19th century when it was easier to precision set a jewel in a golden cup and then fix the jewel into the bridge or plate using screws. You can also see that unlike langa, for example, here all of the characters, numbers, characters, letters on the plate, they are actually freehand engraved. Deeply impressive stuff. And there's even media blast on the base plate and snailing on the separate bridge below the balance for the escapement. The best of the best in every regard. Moritz Grossmann, pass it on. The best kept secret in watchmaking. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.